Live. All right, all right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Media Boss Live. I'm Dr. Barrett Matthews. I am excited today. This is actually our first live stream, and I'm excited about it because I'm going to bring you a guest in a few minutes. My friend Steve Ramona, who is he's a good friend. I mean, yes, we're business colleagues and all that stuff, but he's a friend first, and I'm just excited to have him here because I can't wait to get Steve to tell you his story because the man has really done some incredible things in the world of podcasting. And I know you guys out there, you're probably either thinking of starting a podcast or you may already have a podcast and you still are looking for more growth and how to do it. And the one thing, if you probably saw in the ad that I put out promoting this, is that Steve does everything about while serving others. I mean, ever since I've known this man, that's all he does is serve. Now you're gonna hear me say this again because I'm really officially not launched until noon. Um, let's see. Let's see. Okay, okay. I just wanted to see I was getting a message there. But the thing is, it's not really going to be going until noon, and so you're gonna hear me say some other great things about Steve because I think a lot about Steve. That's my man. I mean, if you ever get to know him, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But he's a great guy, and you're gonna understand exactly what I mean by that. So just to tell you a little bit about me, I'm Dr. Barrett Matthews. If this is your first time seeing me, I run Media Boss Pro, and what we do is we work with CEOs and retired C-suite executives basically to make sure that their message stays relevant. A lot of them out there have retired from their positions and they have been tied, their identity has been tied to that position. So what we want to do is use media to make it so that not only do they stay relevant, but their message stays out there for the whole world to get hold of and to utilize because these people have a lot of knowledge, a vast amount of knowledge. After all, they were C-suite executives with companies and some of them have spent 20, 30, 40 years in position. So they've got an immense amount of knowledge that they can share with the world. And we want to make sure that they do that at Media Boss Pro. So if you are a retired CEO or a C-suite executive and you feel that you need to get your message out, you definitely want to give us a call or contact us. Media Boss Pro is the way you can contact us, mediabosspro.com, mediabosspro.com. You can contact us and get more information. So we're going to get started here. So those of you, if you're just joining us, like I said, I'm Dr. Barrett Matthews of Media Boss Pro, and this is Media Boss Live. This is our first live stream event. We're going to be doing a few of them, and it's going to be leading up to something big. I'll talk about that a little later on as we go. We're going to be doing a masterclass on all types of media. But today I'm excited because I get to introduce a friend. And like I said, we've traveled together, we've hung out together, and I love it when I run into people because this is something I hear all the time. People say, have you thought about talking to this guy named Steve Ramona? And I say, I know Steve Ramona, that's my buddy. So I don't want to hold this thing up anymore. I want to bring on with me my man, Steve Ramona. Steve, welcome to Media Boss Live, my friend. How you doing, buddy?
Fantastic. Great to be on. I'm excited.
I'm excited too, man. I got to ask, how have you been? What have you been up to? We haven't seen each other in quite some time now.
Well, things have really ramped up. We'll talk about podcasting here in a second. But launched a TV show in January on Roku, Apple, all those different streaming services. It's going really well. It's just taking extension like podcast and moving it to TV with more subscribers, more viewers, which I'm excited about. Because I do want to get the message out, doing business with a servant's heart with more and more people. And the podcast is growing. I made 315 shows, and I launched October of 2022. So I've hit a lot of shows. But you know what's great? Barrett is the quality of guests I'm getting. Highly successful guests. Like a gentleman that has... He's turned 1,000 people into millionaires over his career.
Wow. That's amazing.
His story. Yeah, he was a paraplegic for a year and healed himself. And not with the money, but with And you can watch the show. I had Dr. Ivan Meisner, who started BNI.
Yes, I was a part of BNI.
Yes, and a lot of people, some people listening are probably part of that. And that's all because, and I will say this a lot in the show, because of the podcast. That's my hub. That's my more projects for me, more people in my network.
So,
and we're an example of growing a relationship with a podcast. If you didn't have a podcast, I didn't have a podcast, we never would have met.
And that's what I wanted to talk about, because you and I, we met. We were actually a part of a group of podcasters, and we were in the group and we were talking about podcasting and how to grow your podcast. And correct me if I'm wrong here. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I believe at the time you were the only one who did not have a podcast going at the time when we started. Am I right?
Correct. I started from scratch.
Yeah. So
ground zero.
That's the amazing thing. And I want everybody to get a hold of this, because some of you out there right now don't have a podcast. And you're wondering, oh God, I don't know. It seems like a lot. How can I get it going? I don't know if anybody, I hear this one. I don't know if anybody wants to hear my message. I don't know if anybody is going to listen to me. I don't know this. I don't know that. Let me tell you something that I know. I watched this man right here. I watched Steve when he did not have everything that he has right now. And I just want to talk to you guys for a second. Steve did not have everything that he has going on right now. He had an idea of what he wanted to do, but here's one thing he had. He had a desire to learn. Every week, I listened to Steve ask questions about how he could get his podcast going. Every week, he did that. And what happens is, after he got enough knowledge, he finally launched his podcast. And he launched, because I remember you playing around with even the title of it at first. And I remember all of this, and then he got it going. And then he let us know. And this is the great thing about the group we were with Pantheon, I'll say that. We were with Pantheon, our good friend Josh Tapp and his team. With that, you actually started to let us know, I got this amount of subscribers. I just opened up this, and I got these many downloads. I got this going this week, and so in your progress. And the great thing was, we were all supportive of you, because we became a family. We became close, and I just had to put that out there, because I wanted to have you talk a little bit about just starting your podcast.
Well, we're all the people asset business. This is my new mantra. Whoever's out there listening, you, me, Barrett, we are in the people asset business. We need people to run our business, to make money, to have abundance, to grow our business. And that's what a podcast for me became. Now, I started my podcast, and you listening out there that don't have a podcast or have one and trying to figure out how to use it, use it with your clients. That was my first thought. How can I promote my clients? What a great way. I jump them on a show for 20-25 minutes. And I get them out there to my world. But here's the power of what happened. I got into their world, into their network, and now I start getting referrals. I get 3 to 10 referrals daily. Right?
Yeah, you do.
My calendar's booked up through May. And, we've talked about that, Barrett. And that's, again, I'm going to go back to, it's all because of the podcast. But the other thing I learned is in Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, Chapter 4. Law of increase. How can I bring value to people as I have them on the podcast? And the real value is after the show, you've learned all about their desires, their pains, their whys, and then you can have a conversation between us and see how you can help each other, support each other, and grow each other. And from there, now you build these relationships.
I love that. And the great thing about that is that you have really turned what you do into something big, because you've grown so much just from that attitude of helping other people, serving other people. And because you did that, now, like you mentioned, some of these big name people, and people are not only referring people to you, people are coming to you because they want to be on your podcast. I've seen it. Here's the great testament for you, Steve, is that when I'm in other groups and your name comes up as the go-to guy, because it makes me proud. I'm like, that's my boy,
You should say that.
Yeah, that's my boy because people are and I'm going to tell you this. This is a gospel truth. The man is a great interviewer. He's a great interviewer, and I've been interviewed by him. I've had other people that I know who've been interviewed by him, and they all praise his interview skills. And like I said, Steve and I'm going to tell y'all this. It's a good thing that this is a recorded event right now because Steve and I will talk all day to each other.
Yeah. So true.
We will talk all day to each other. So at least we're limited here because we have a time frame. But the thing is that's my buddy, man. So I just want to. So like, here's the thing. Like, you started your podcast. What kind of aspirations did you have for it when you started it?
Was the client promotion? Was to shout out my clients on social media, my network, and they're doing great things. And I want to be that catalyst for them to help them. I wasn't charging them. I wasn't getting paid, and I didn't care. Because to me, when you serve people that way, there's the social capital.
Yes.
The how, why, or where it's going to happen, we never know. But it'll happen because it's happened to me. And audience, just the last year has been my most successful year in 30 years. In financial, in growing my network, and just meeting people.
Well, let's talk about that. So, in what ways and how did that come about? First of all, let's talk about that. How did it come about, and then we'll talk to what ways it's manifested itself.
Having a guest on, and I'm going to make a premise before I start. When a door opens, that opportunity door opens, you can walk through it. But if it doesn't fit, you can walk out. We forget that. We're like, I'm not going to be Barrett. He's not a fit for me. But who does Barrett know? And that's what the podcast is so powerful. You get these guests on. You do a great show. Thank you for the great comments. You are my boy. And I can say that many times. People get excited. And like, oh my God, that was a great show. I need to hear this guy, this guy. Then I get Lee Steinberg, the sports agent.
Yeah.
I reach out to him and say, I'd love to have you on my show. Patrick Mahomes is his client. Jerry Maguire movie was based on him. He was on my show. If I didn't have a podcast, he never would have been on my show. There'd be no reason for him to be on the show. And nothing against me. But everybody wants to talk about themselves. So as I started doing shows and meeting more and more guests, and then people are asking me to partner up with them. Mm-hmm. To pay me to do things. And I get paid residually, not from network marketing. It's a good industry, but I used to do it money anymore. But I do partnerships. Like me and you partner up. I just gave you some referrals. We're going to work together. If something happens, guess what? You're going to pay me an affiliate fee or commission or whatever it is. I do the same thing. Barrett brings something to me. I do the same thing. Here's a little tip for you and your audience, whoever's listening to the recording. You are struggling with money, and Josh Kapp, who you mentioned, our mentor, he taught us this. Yeah. Go out and promote somebody else's business. Take an hour or two during the day and email, text, or reach out and call people and go, hey, I've got this great coach. He's got this great program. I'd love to introduce you. I think it'd be great. That person meets the coach, and they sign up with him. It's got $1,800 sent to me last week. Because of some referrals I did. And guess what? I win because I got the $1,800. The coach wins because he's got a great client. And the client wins because they got a great coach. It's great for everybody. So if you're out there struggling with money, find some people. Of course, you got to like what they do. You have a great relationship with them, and they fit you. But what a great way. And you need to build your network to do that. So if you're out there going, I have a small network, we'll go out and start meet new people. Meet 10 new people a week. That's why I mentor businesses and entrepreneurs. When you meet 10 new people a week, 5 of those give you 5 referrals. That's 25. So now you got 35 new people you met next week. And then they give you referrals, those 10. You're going to be at 100, 200 new people that you've met. I use the 10% rule. If it's 200 people, 20 of those are going to resonate with you. Either you're going to refer them for a commission, they're going to buy your product, or they're going to send you referrals of clients that are going to buy your product. Referral marketing is so powerful.
I hope that, and I hope people have done this, but I should have said beforehand, get ready to take notes because Steve has so much knowledge. Because I hope you guys are capturing what he is saying to you right now, because it is vitally important that you understand that what Steve is telling you. He's telling you right now to make sure that you are sharing other people's information. Make sure you're sharing other people's content, because what it'll do is it will have a reverberating effect on your business, because it'll come back to you in a lot of ways, with connections, with products, with financial gains. But you got to make sure that you're doing that. So I hope that you all are taking notes on that. So Steve, I want to ask you, because one thing you have always been, since I've known you, a connector of people. You've always been that. You've always made sure that you reached out to people, you've connected with people. What would you say to someone who wants to get into this space but doesn't have a lot of connections and doesn't know a lot of people, but they don't mind doing it, but they just don't know what to do?
Reach out to me and Barrett. Reach out to people you know are connected. Go, hey, I'm starting two people this week. Hey, I'm starting a podcast here. We send you 3 guests. We work as a community, as a network, and Pantheon's our community.
That's true.
Reach out to us, or reach out to people who have a podcast. Go through their podcast and go, I want to meet Joe and Tony and Tim. There is no reason now, maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you couldn't do this, but there's no reason now that we can't get you guests. Or what I did is I went through my contact list. I went through my calendar and go, I want this guy on my show, I want this guy on my show, I want this guy on my show. Guess what? I think 1 out of 50 said no. And he was too busy. So he said no. So your own contact list can help you grow your podcast.
That's a very
good
point.
No, never you can't get guests.
You're right, because I mean, very rarely does someone say no. Because you said it at the top. You said people love to talk about themselves. I mean, it's not a brag thing. It's that the people love to talk about themselves. And if we can help them to do that by getting them on a podcast, showcasing them, it makes it even better for them. So in doing that, Steve, the people that you're connecting and you're recommending to other people that they reach out to us to connect with people and use your market. That's a gem right there. Use the people that you know. Talk to them. Because just like you said earlier, with certain guests, we don't know who they know. You don't know who the people in your market know. You don't know who they're connected to. I mean, just like, it's funny you mentioned Lee Steinberg. I literally just had a conversation with someone that actually I introduced you to a while ago, my friend Kim. She was at an event with Lee Steinberg around the Super Bowl. So, I mean, these are people. Now, here's the thing. I've never met Lee Steinberg, but I now know 2 people that know Lee Steinberg. So, it's just one of those things. And I actually went to an event in Utah last year where we had a live stream of a guest come on. Guess who the guest was? Lee Steinberg. So there you go. Yeah, so it's one of those things that I know people who know people, and you can do the same thing. Like as Steve said, it's a network. It's a network. I think a lot of people, Steve, and tell me if you believe this too. I think a lot of people go into it straight for where's my cash, and they don't want to build. What do you think on that?
Well, it's funny you say that. This week on Facebook, that's why I'm not a big Facebook fan. I had 3 people reach out, hey, I want to get to know you, next thing you know, it's crypto. And I told all 3 of them, you need to hire me because that's not how to do sales. You don't know why. I don't even like crypto. I'm not even part of it.
Yeah.
Well, that should be, build your relationship first before you pitch. LinkedIn, they're all over. I know there's a lot of fear, COVID, people need to make sales, but build that relationship first. We don't know the how, why, or where. I mentioned that before. It's going to change. But I'm living in Barrett's living proof of taking care of people, and you'll thrive.
Yeah.
And you'll make money. And you'll have abundance. And guess what? You're going to have a bunch of friends that are business partners. They're more than just somebody you do referral with. But you work together. You partner up together and help grow.
And so, like I said, before we get into, I want to get into, how you said this is the most successful year, but I want to still talk about something that you did that really helped catapult your podcast and business. And that's when you went video with your podcast. Talk about that growth of your podcast when you went to video.
Yeah. So I think it was February we were told through Pantheon that YouTube was taking over podcasting. And be prepared. So I jumped in. I appreciate you saying that, and God bless you. That I am coachable. I'm very coachable because I want to grow.
You are.
I'm 62 years old. We should be learning until we're 102. Mm-hmm. So he said, hey, move everything over the podcasting. As you remember, I did that, and my podcast started growing. And people started seeing the videos I was doing. And what I do with YouTube, which is so powerful, is a lot of you have been on podcasts. And they tell you, hey, it's March 9th. Hey, we just did a podcast. I'll have you on probably end of April. And that's okay. That's not a problem with that. But what I like to do because of the servant's heart is, okay, Barrett, we just finished our show today. Monday, I'm going to have you out to my world. What? Oh, yeah, I'm going to throw you around on YouTube. And then guess what? Later on, a few months, I'm going to promote you again.
Brilliant.
My podcast. Guess what? That's a servant's heart. That is taking care of people. Here's the big thing that people need to listen to. Bring value to everybody you meet. That's why you're a super connector and I am. When we meet people, we're not thinking about, okay, where's their pain? How can we sell them? Okay, we think of, okay, they do this, they need this. Okay, have that 2 people I need you to meet. I did 1,800 referrals last year. This year I'll go way over 2,500.
Oh,
I do 500 referrals or more a month. One, because I have a large network. So people tell me, they go, I can't do that. My network's 200 people. That's okay. If you're doing 2 referrals a week, you're serving people. And it just doesn't have to be referrals. It could be a resource. Hey, Barrett, I heard you're doing this. Why don't you try this? And we've done that back and forth with each other. And here's a tip here, especially in person. So, and the other way to bring value is, you could be at church, you see a beautiful baby in a carriage with their mom, you go, wow, that's a beautiful baby, I love the bow on that. That's bringing value. It comes in so many forms, and when you bring value, keep in mind, receive that as well. One thing I learned why I really took off in my business is I met this multi-millionaire. He made all his money serving people. His goal was serve. And I told him my story, and he goes, you know why you're not successful? It's because you're not receiving. I would give out a whole bunch of referrals. I'd help somebody on their YouTube. I'm a tech guy. I'd help them with their tech. And they go, Steve, how can I support you? Oh, I'm good. No, I'm good. Enjoy those referrals. And he said, Steve, you just turn that person into a taker. Because anytime somebody receives a gift, 95% of the time they're going to want to give that back.
Yeah.
And when you say no, or you're not ready for it, you're actually not helping the universe. You're making the universe negative. And that's what happened to me for 10 years. I serve people, but I never grew. My income didn't grow. I met a lot of great people, but I didn't know how to really make that work. Now I do, and that's why this last year, this year's going to be my best year ever.
That is so true about being able to receive, because that's been one of my things throughout life too, is that I was a giver and I wasn't a receiver. So I'm glad you brought that up. Something you also said that really caught my attention, and it's about how many referrals you gave out and how many you're going to give out this year. How important is it to track the number of referrals you give out and the number you receive?
I don't think it's super important because the universe takes care of that. I think it's important that if you have a referral, give it. We have coaching industry trends, and I love coaches, nothing against you guys, but they tend to kind of grab their IP and they want to give it out. I want to give out my network. Open your network up. I've opened my network up and probably didn't make some money because of it. But that's not the idea. The idea is to bring value to people.
Yes.
Because it will come back. We just don't know when.
I like that a lot. So, yeah, I want to hear, speaking of tracking numbers, I would like you to give an example of your podcast on YouTube, and so what that number looked like, if you can remember some of the milestones that you made with using that.
Oh yeah. I started with 100 with my podcast, putting it out there. I think a lot of my friends had like 100 subscribers. Now the caveat was, and a side note, when you make money with your podcast, and we were taught this at Pantheon, take half of it in your podcast, put it into Barrett, or somebody like that can grow you. and take the other half and go on vacation, pay your bills, whatever. And I love that. That's a servant's heart. It's not saying taking all your money and hurt your family and build a podcast. So I did that. As I got a sponsor, I took some of that. I had a Josh's brother, Gardner, start promoting my podcast on YouTube. And it went 100 to 2,800 in a month. So now I'm at almost 9,900 subscribers.
Amazing.
And I get 100 to 2,000 downloads and growing. Where people are reviewing this, or views, excuse me.
And the great thing about that, and I want people to understand this, because this is, I always tell people, we've been taught, and I heard, have you met Justin Schenck?
No, I have not.
I'll have to introduce you to Justin. He's a fantastic podcaster, and he was teaching, remember when Josh was teaching on partnerships versus sponsorship? Justin did the same thing, and he's been a podcast guest of mine. I met him because he was on E on Fire, and but Justin talks about getting sponsorships, but he said, getting partnerships rather, and he said that, and this is no knock on Joe Rogan, but he said Joe Rogan ruined it for everybody, and because people use Joe Rogan as the model, and Joe Rogan is actually the exception. And people have to understand, Joe was a celebrity before his podcast came out. So you are measuring yourself against someone who was already a celebrity, who already was in the machine, so to speak. So, and my point on that is this. With podcasting, the thing that they preach to us is you want to get all of these audio downloads. Because when you get all of these audio downloads, you're going to attract sponsorships and you can get paid from it. Well, Steve and I both know that you're going to have to get a whole lot of audio downloads in order to even make a dent into making some money. And when I say a whole lot, I'm talking some commas in between those numbers. So several commas between those numbers to really get the number. I mean, I know people who have over 1 million downloads and aren't really making any money at all. So just to put that out there for you. Now, in saying that, I also sorry. Someone just said we got some audio issues. I'm not sure what it is. Are you hearing me clearly?
I hear you clearly.
Can you hear me? Okay, so hopefully, hopefully someone else can get it clear. So we'll work on that. But the thing is, with audio, you have to get a certain number of downloads. For your podcast. Now, it's great to have those numbers. But you won't know one single person who downloaded. Because there's no way of getting their information. There's no way of connecting with them. There's nothing. All you have is the number of someone who downloaded. Now, let's go and take, for instance, the YouTube, as you mentioned. Well, if you have a YouTube channel, and many of you know this, if you have a YouTube channel, when someone subscribes, you get a notification that someone has subscribed to your podcast. You can now reach out to that person that who subscribed and send them a link, a free gift, whatever. You can now bring them into your world. If you can bring them into your world, they can be a part of what you're doing. You can serve them. They can actually end up being a client. I would rather, and I've said this to people before, Steve, I'd rather have 100 subscribers on YouTube than 100,000 downloads on audio.
Amen. Yep.
Because I'd rather be able to follow up with people.
Yeah. And the sponsorship and the Joe Rogan thing, keep in mind, he's got directors, research people on the computer in the back. He's a TV show. He calls himself a podcast because that's where but he's not a podcast. Mm-hmm. He's a TV show. He's Yellowstone, he's Chicago Fire, all those different TV shows. And that's not what we're trying to do. He's doing something completely different. And with your podcast, it's all about growing you and promoting other people and bringing value.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. And, it's funny because it's about you really connecting with the people, and you can't connect with people on audio. You just can't do it. So the video, now, am I saying don't do audio? No, not at all. Because it is a medium in which people can see you.
Yeah.
It is or hear you rather. It's a medium where people can know that you're out there. But and it's a great thing because I listen to audio podcasts as I'm driving. I listen to it as I exercise. So yeah, they have an extreme value out there, and I get to teach a lot of things on audio podcasts. But if you're looking for that connection with the people, unless you have a killer call to action, then I suggest doing video and audio. Now, I didn't say or, video and audio. So you can connect with people. As you heard Steve say, he puts out the video within the week, and then later he can bring the audio up. Because I'm sure, like myself, Steve probably has a backlog of audio that he has to put out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 50 shows, yeah.
Yeah. See, you and me both, brother. You and me. I'm about to start putting out 2 per week so I can just catch up. Just so I can catch up.
That's a great tip. That's a really great tip for everybody. Yeah, if you don't do more than 2, but if you're doing 1, you've got a backlog, do 2.
Yeah, and see, just like with you gave me a great tip because I'm going to start putting out the video first and then doing the audio later. You see how we're sharing here, we're learning from each other live as we're sharing here.
Community, man, it's so much. It's a powerful tool, community.
It is, man. He really means that, and he walks that walk. I mean, because like I said, Steve and I, like I said, we've traveled together. We've gone to Utah a couple times and just hung out together. Broke bread together. We're just cool. And I can talk to Steve all that. I haven't been out west to go visit him, but I may need to. But
and vice versa, I need to come out to your side, Washington.
Hey man,
DC
come
too.
on, brother. You're
we'll
always,
talk about that later.
Always welcome on here. So I want to get into like you had mentioned a little while ago. You said this has been the most success that you've seen. So how's that translated into success for you? How's your podcast translated into success for you?
First, the partnerships I'm meeting with, like the Dr. Ivan Meisner, Lee Steinberg, Roy Firestone, who did 5,000 he's a sports journalist. He did 5,000 celebrity. He actually is best friends with Muhammad Ali for 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I joke, I said, God, I wish I'd get him on the show. He said, yeah, if I could bring him back from the dead, I'd have him on your show. And these are things that when I started my podcast, I didn't think would happen. I've reached out to Arnold Schwarzenegger's team. I haven't be able to connect yet, but he talked about serving the people of California. Well, doing business with a servant's heart, what a great fit.
Yeah.
But the other thing that's happened is people have asked me to come aboard, like, hey, join my mastermind at no cost. And they're charging, thousands of dollars a year. Or, hey, let me pay you to help you with your podcast. Let me partner up with me and let's pay you to get in my network.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a value to that. There's a number of people I won't mention that, like, you've got this huge network. I want to work with you. As you said earlier with Mr. Schenk, partnerships are the real deal. They're a faster way to make money with your podcast than sponsorships. Now, I have 2 sponsors, and here's why this is so awesome. Those guys reached out to me and go, I love your show. I want to sponsor. Now, it took me a year and a half, let's use a year. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Because again, in the beginning of your podcast, you're building your network. You're starting to get partnerships. So you get maybe a little bit of money here. And then eventually a sponsor is going to come.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the other thing. You have a podcast you're passionate about, go out and ask your friends, people you know. Hey, I'm looking for a sponsor.
Yeah.
You never know. People go, I would love to ask, what's the worst thing that can happen? And I've asked like 4 or 5 people. No, I'm not interested. Okay, I'll follow up with you. You're going to get that one that's going to pay you whatever they're going to pay you. It's different with everybody. But that, like me, I'm a professional podcast now. I'm getting paid for my podcast.
And that
just brings my level up.
And see, the thing, what you just said there, and I want everybody to understand this, he's not doing traditional way of getting paid for his podcast. And I'm not going to say traditional way doesn't work. It just, for most people, and I know, Steve, you've heard this a lot of times. People say, I want to start a podcast and I want to make money with it. But they think it's just, I start a podcast and then money just starts coming in and sponsors start coming in. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that.
It doesn't.
So, and I,
the other thing I was going to say, when people start a podcast, I want to get this before we close the show out. Everybody listening recording. When you do a podcast and you want to make money, the way you make money is through your business or through partnerships.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing for people that are thinking about starting a podcast. I talked to 3 this week. There's 3 components of that. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money, and I don't know how to do that. Well, I could get a podcast out after it's recorded in 20, 30 minutes. So an hour and a half a week. If you have that much time, you could do a podcast. 2, it's less than $100 for all the software that you need. So let's say it's like $80.
Mm-hmm.
If you have that, you're in. And I'll show you how to do it. I'm a mentor. It's my business. Or Barrett will show you, or hire somebody. If you're a wealthy person and just want to develop your thought leader in a different message,
good point.
Hire Barrett or hire me or find somebody else to help you with that. So you could do it yourself. Like I've hired nobody except for Carter to promote on YouTube. I've done it all myself. I don't produce my shows. They go raw. So when I record Barrett's show, it goes as it was recorded right out of YouTube and right on my podcast. Why do I do that? Because podcasts are conversations.
Yeah.
They're not scripted. They're not, okay, scene 1, scene 2. No, it's like we're doing right now. We're talking from our heart and our mind. And audience, I want you to think of this picture, this image, and it really helps people. Me and Barrett are sitting in a coffee shop. And we've done that. So we've actually done that. And we're talking back and forth, and somebody on the other table leans over and goes, "Hey, Barrett, you just said something about my thought leader platform. Can you tell me more?" That's what a podcast is. It's a coffee conversation.
I like that. I like the way you put that. And speaking of telling more, I want you to delve in a little bit more on the revenue side for people, because like I told people, Steve is a servant, but he has turned his podcast into a business because he serves. And this is amazing to me, because I guess I'm so amazed by it, and I want to share this with everybody, is because I watched this man grow. I watched his podcast grow. I watched it when he did not have a podcast. He literally did not have one. And now, he's talking to people. See, what he didn't mention, he's been talking to people who are associated with Richard Branson. He's talking. He mentioned he's talking to calling Schwarzenegger's camp. He's reading Lee Steinberg on his podcast. These are people, and if you don't know the names, look them up, please, because this is a man who, a couple of years ago, did not have a podcast. And it's grown to the point where people want to be on it. And the reason I'm having him share this with you is because you can do the same thing. You can do the same thing.
I'm not special. And I mean this, I don't like talking about myself. I'm not special, but why I'm special is I took action. And we were with a group of 30 people, and me and you and probably one other have really grown the podcast. The others didn't take action or didn't take the right action.
Yeah.
And that's anything. A podcast, it led to a TV show. I've been asked to launch a TV show. Yesterday I was asked to be in a radio show. Here's the other thing. I'm now keynote speaker. 2022, I never keynote speak in my life. Ever. My 61 years. I'm getting asked out of the blue in emails, "Hey, Steve, I've heard your message. Can you speak here?" Yes, this week somebody said, "Hey, I'm doing an event up in just a couple hour away from me. I want you to speak if you're available."
Isn't that amazing?
I came from zero to this, and anybody can do it. Maybe not to that level, and you don't need to go to that level, but at least increase your exposure by building your network. Your network is your net worth.
I've heard that saying before, but I tell you, this man lives it. He lives it, because he has. We were talking earlier before we started the broadcast about our friend Josh. Josh always says, when he introduces me to people, he says, "Barrett is the most connected person I know. He knows so many people." And I correct him every time. I say, "No, Steve Ramona." Steve Ramona is the most connected person. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten a referral from Steve. I can't tell you, because he does it like breathing. He gives referrals like it's nothing, because he knows so many people. And this is something I want to share with you guys listening here. You know people too. But it's a mindset shift, I think, and Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's a mindset shift to go into, okay, I know this person. Who needs them, or who do they need? instead of saying, well, I know them, but they don't do what I do, so I just know them. No, share with someone, because as Steve mentioned earlier, you don't know how it's going to come back to you in another way just by sharing. And so that's why I said this Steve is, his podcast is aptly named Doing Business with a Servant's Heart, because he is always serving, he's always giving. And I'm glad you mentioned that you had to learn to receive. Now, I want to ask you that on that, was that difficult to get into a receiver mode?
It was difficult, and this is a great lesson. If you don't have something to give somebody, find that before you meet, your next person. If you're just an 8 to 5 person at Apple, and somebody says, "How can I support you?" Well, you can't say, "Hey, come to my job at Apple," or so. Have something made, and this is where the power of partnerships come in. If you're an 8 to 5er, which I love you guys, that's what you love to do. That's what you have to do right now. Then you promote Barrett. If you like Barrett, then you go, yeah, here, I want you to support my friend Barrett. Here's a link. He's incredible what he does. This is what he does. So we can always bring value to people and always receive by doing that. People go, but it's not really directly helping you. Yeah, it is, because if somebody signs up with Barrett or with Josh or with Joey Droshagen, who's my coach and friend, I get paid a little portion of it. And guess what? Barrett doesn't have to market. He doesn't have to do anything, but just jump on a call, see if it's a fit, sell them on your service, and it's done.
It's funny that you say that, Steve, because I literally was just talking to someone yesterday, and I said, I feel like I ought to write a book called Value Add, because I go into many relationships, basically saying to myself, how can I add value here? And my story about how I'm a royal advisor to a king. I work with a king, and when I first met him, he was not a king, but he was someone who was doing some incredibly powerful things. And I'll give him a shout out to Dr. Clyde Rivers with I Change Nations, and he was doing some incredible things promoting civility around the world. And he and I hit it off instantly. We just clicked, and we just could communicate and go back and forth all day long. But I said, I want to further my relationship with him. And I didn't want anything out of it. It's just I wanted to further my relationship. So I wanted to make sure that he saw me as someone that he wanted to talk to. So I said, how can I add value? So what I told myself I was going to do is I was going to make sure I added value by either introducing him, you heard Steve just mention it, introducing him to people that I thought he might want to know, or introducing to events or different things or programs or something that I thought he could use. And because I did that, he saw me as someone who is valuable. And all I'm saying to you, this is because this is not about me. It's about you. So in that same token, you can do the same thing. Add value. Always go into relationships, not looking for what you can get out of it. It's not about getting paid all the time. It's not about getting your exposure. Sometimes it's just about relationship. And if you can get a relationship, like for instance, Steve and I never ask anything from each other. Never. We just have relationship. And Steve, and you know this, Steve, there are certain people, when you meet them, you know that, okay, that relationship is something that I can build upon. That relationship, and there are certain people you meet and you're like, there's really not much there. There's no connection there. And, but you know that. And so you build on the ones you can build on, the other ones you don't necessarily build upon. But I know when you and I met, we knew right away. So there were, like you said, there were how many people, I don't know how many people, like 30 people in the group where we met, but not all of us have connection. Not all of us have connection. See, I know I can see Steve a year apart. I can call Steve 6 months apart, but we'll still pick up where we left off. Yep. And some of you out there have that same relationship with people. You need to be able to nurture that and serve. If you can serve, I promise you, it'll come back to you, just like with Steve. I'm telling you, Steve said he's not special, even though we know different. But but he but he's built something out of his podcast that is really good. So and see, Steve, I want to ask you something. When it comes to people and their podcast, when they started, because like I said, I saw you when you started. How should they, like? I know we talked about going into it with serving other people, but what kind of obstacles should they look forward to that they're going to have to overcome when they get started?
It's a great question. You think revenue, and 3 months go by, you have no sponsors, you're not making any money. Going back to this, I say this all the time. As you do your podcast, you don't know the how, when, or where, what's going to happen, but it will. It took me, I started recording in October. I launched in January, probably March or April, 3 or 4 months before I started seeing people want to partner up with me. It took time. Have faith. Trust me, it's working for me. It's working for Barrett.
Yeah.
Just keep doing it and be consistent. I've talked to people, hey, I stopped doing my podcast for a couple of months because they weren't getting what they want out of it. And that's a big faux pas, and because you produce podcasts. You got to stay consistent or people are going to forget about you.
Yeah. Now, I want to ask you that also. So how do you go about, and it may be different for other people, but how do you go about getting partners?
I ask. I say, hey, Tim Wright, who won the Super Bowl with the Patriots, was on my show. He's built a headset it's called Dome Audio, like I'm wearing, for deaf people to hear. So I've reached out to him. I said, I want to consult with you. And I work with him. I brought him some investors. And if they sign up, I get paid for that. I love what you're doing. He's been on my TV show. And I just ask if they don't ask me. Now, some people come, hey, I want to work with you. I want to do this, this, and this. It works either way, but always ask. That's one thing I had a problem with for when I start probably 35 years is ask. Hey, Barrett, I need some help. Hey, Barrett, come on my show. Hey, Barrett, this. Ask. Again, the worst thing that happens when you ask is, no, I'm not interested. Or no, da-da-da-da. That's it. Your world's not changing. Your world's not going down. You're not going through a black hole. You say next. Okay, Barrett, thank you. I'll go to Lee Steinberg or I'll go to whoever.
I love it. And it's funny because I got quite a few people to call next week to ask. What I did, and it's something I learned from Dr. George Fraser. For those of you who don't know George Fraser, look him up. He's an incredible networker. I heard him speaking one time, and he said, many of you because we were at a conference, he said, many of you go to these conferences and you meet each other. You talk to one another. You may even eventually do business with each other. But nobody talks to the vendors. And he said, the vendors came here because they spent money. The vendors are representing companies because they want exposure. Yeah. And no one talks to them. So last year, I went to a conference with the Podfest last year. I made it a point. And I remember Josh and we were standing in the room with all the vendors. And I said to him, I said, you know what I see here? He goes, what? I said, opportunity. And I went to every single vendor, had a small conversation with them, got their card. I wasn't pitching them at the moment. Hint, hint, hint. But what I did is when I got home, I looked on the website. I noticed that there were a lot other sponsors for that event that weren't at vendor tables. So what I did was I sent a message, an email to each and every one of them. Each and every one of them. And I want y'all to take note of this. I said, I'm glad that you were able to be a part of the event, the Podfest event. I run a podcast that addresses this area, and I see you address this area too. Now, I said, I was wondering if you would be interested in discussing a possible partnership. If so, please let me know, and also let me know if there's someone else that needs to be in on the call as well, and we can set up a Zoom. That's all I did. I had a few people say, yeah, we can discuss a partnership. So then I set up a Zoom with them. And this is important because, see, some of you may close it yourselves. Some of you may have sales people. I had a sales rep helping me. I had Kyle, our friend Kyle, helping me. So what I did is I set up a quick Zoom. I'm telling you, Steve, some of these Zooms lasted 2 minutes. And I said to the people, I said, look, I have a podcast. It's about this. So I let them know what it was about. I let them know what it's about. We're growing, and we're looking to do this. But I'm not looking for a sponsorship. This is very key. And this is what Justin Shank taught me. I am not looking for a sponsor. I am not looking for a sponsor. I am also not looking for an affiliate program, because this is what a lot of business will offer you. I'm not looking for that. What I'm looking for is a partner. And this is the part where Josh teaches. I want to be a brand evangelist for you. I want to be someone to push your business and promote your business, because my end goal is to get you clients. That's because guess what? That's what they want to hear. My end goal is to get you clients. And this is where I turned it over to my sales rep. I said, now I don't have all the numbers in front of me to go over why it's the value for you, but I would like to know if it's even something you'd be interested in talking further about, so I can get you on a call with my friend Kyle, my associate Kyle, and he can go over the numbers with you to see how it can work for you. And they go, yeah, I'll talk to Kyle. Bam. I'll end the call. I'll set up so Kyle and he can get on Zoom, and Kyle can go over the numbers with them and talk about offering what we do versus them. And they pay you to be a sponsor. Now, I mean a partner, rather. I'm sorry. Now, the thing about that, and you heard Steve mention this, it doesn't always have to be money. It doesn't always have to be money. It can be a service that you know you need, and they have. It could be a product that they have. I right now am working on a GoBox Studio. And for those of you who pay attention to my podcast, you see me talk about the GoBox Studio. It has a 4K camera. It has the lighting. You see all my lighting here. The room is dark without the GoBox Studio right now. So Steve saw it beforehand. When I turned on the light, these are lights attached to. I'm using Ecamm to put this broadcast out through my Stream Deck, which is all a part of this system. This system costs a good amount of money. I'm not telling you how much. If you want one, you'll find out. But the thing is, what they decided to do was, as a partner for me promoting their product, they would give me a Go Box, and they would also pay me some cash. This is the deal that was negotiated. I'm like, yeah, I was excited. There was another partnership I got with our friends at Pantheon. And that helped me as promoting my podcast and promoting my business and getting clients. There was another partnership that I did not have room for. So I actually helped get the deal negotiated, but I got a percentage out of it. And I actually gave that partner to our friend Tori Barker. So this all came from me just going to this event, talking to the vendors there. So you all can guess what I did this year at the same event. so now I have some people I have to call. So, and then Steve, that's why I wanted to definitely bring that up, because partnership is a great way for people to bring in revenue to their business from their podcast, just by serving other people and by giving them what they want.
Costs you nothing. Costs you nothing to partner up with somebody.
I can't hear you say that again, Steve.
Zero is zero. And I've been part of network marketing again. I'm not going to put it down, but there's always a fee, whatever that is. Mm-hmm. It's nominal, but still, with partnerships and building relationships. And guess what? They're going to start throwing stuff at you like they did with the Go Box. I mean, I just got in the mail yesterday from a guest, a bottle of his, it's an alcohol. I don't drink. My wife drinks it. I forget the name of it because I don't drink. But it's his company. He goes, let me send you a bottle. I've had chocolate sent to me.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that that's why I do the podcast.
No, it's not.
But that's how you build a relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I had some send me men's skincare products and stuff. Yeah, and the thing is, we haven't asked for them.
No.
We didn't ask for them. But this is here's what I want you to get out of this. Remember, I put the title of this that you're getting is by serving. Because we are serving, because we are giving to them, it is something that people love giving to other people. I know that sounds foreign to a lot of people, but yes, people love giving. They especially love giving when you have given to them first. And I had a chance, and I don't know if I told you about this, Steve. I had a chance to interview the founder of Jackson Hewitt, John Hewitt, recently. And here's one thing I found out is that he lives about 3 hours away. He invited me to come down and have dinner with him. So I'm going to do that. And but the thing is, he sent me a copy of his book, and he sent me the audio book, and he sent me the physical book. I already listened to the audio book. So I told him I'm going to come when I come down to see you. I'm bringing the book because I want you to sign it for me. But once again, it goes back to what Steve said earlier. These relationships, you don't know where they lead to. He's already referred people for me to talk to for my podcast, which is why I have to start doing 2 a week to clear out some space, because
yeah, it's a good problem.
It is a good problem. It is a good, and you share it. So you share that problem.
And I want to add this before we get done too.
Sure.
Is let's think of the guesting side too. My goal 2024 is to be on more shows.
Thank you.
If you're not a podcast host and you want to become a thought leader and grow your business or scale your business, jump on a bunch of shows. I'm pretty full. I don't know what Barrett is, but I have PitchDB. If you want to reach out, it's an affiliate program that you could be on 3 million podcasts. Mm-hmm. And you go ahead and pitch it. There's a cost to it, but it's a service that helps you pitch podcasts. Mm-hmm. There's so many ways to be a guest. I'm on TV shows now. I'm going to be on a radio show, a bunch of podcasts, and as a podcast host, you can share like we've done. Me and Barrett, we've shared each other's guests, and we need to do that again real soon. So don't forget, you have many opportunities out there to talk about what you do as a guest. And you can monetize that by becoming a partner with them. You could go, hey, Jackson, man, I love what you're doing. You're such a great host. How can I partner up with you? So it works both ways. There's a bridge there, a guest or a host. It still works the same way. You're building your network. Because guess what? That podcast host, you're going to go, hey, I'd love to, they're going to go, how can I support you? Hey, I'd love to be on more shows. And I do this all the time. Yeah, I've got 4 shows I want you should be on. Again, growing your business, scaling your business, but more importantly, building your network to build your net worth.
You're right. Now, before we wrap up, I want to mention that one of our good friends, Dustin Reckman, built his whole business around guesting on podcasts. And the thing is, with everyone, I get asked this question a lot of times. I find it kind of funny that people ask this, but I get it for where people's mindsets are. They ask, well, can I sell my products on my podcast? And I'm like, you better, because who else is going to sell your products? So you better sell your products on your podcast. That is a great way to make money from your podcast. Sell what you offer from your podcast. And on that note, before we wrap up, I want to make sure you guys know, beginning in April 3rd, I'm going to be doing a media masterclass. It's a media masterclass to go through various forms of media to show you how you can make 6 figures in 6 months. That's right, 6 figures in 6 months by doing media. I'm going to give you the information coming up, not today, but it's going to be coming up soon. You'll be able to register for the event, but I want to make sure that you all can be a part of this. It's going to be a half-day masterclass, so it's about 4 hours, a lot of content to show you how to do that. But before I wrap up, Steve, I wanted to give you the last word. Is there anything that you wanted to offer to the audience to share with them before we wrap up here today?
Yeah, get better 1% every day. Maybe it's a referral. Maybe it's whatever that is. Something, just get better. Maybe it's a book you read. Whatever that looks to you, just get better 1% every day. If you start today, we're in the 1st of March. There's 9 months left. So that's 400, 150%. You're going to get better. I want you to think about, audience. Are you going to grow? Are you going to make more money? And is your business going to be better? The other thing I want you to do is my serving exercise. I've got a serving book on Amazon called Serving Journal 2024. You can get it's $9.99 if you want. Or I want you to start on Monday. Today it's Saturday. Start on Monday, and I want you to bring value and serve everybody you run into. If you forget, that's okay. But the most important thing is I want you to write down how you felt and how they felt after you served them. You brought them value. Friday and Saturday, I want you to go over all those notes and do me a favor. think about how you felt. Think about how all those people you served felt. But the most important thing, the third thing, is how did your week change? And I'd be surprised if hundreds of people have done this. I think 99% their life has changed or their business has changed. You got to practice it. It's like gratitude. You got to practice it every day.
I love it. Thank you so much for that, Steve. And hey, guys, everybody, I want to make sure you guys reach out to Steve. I think LinkedIn is probably the best place to reach out to Steve. And Steve, real quick, tell them quickly how they can get a lot of people to their events on LinkedIn.
Yeah, well, let's use MMT, my most trusted. Reach out to me and I'll connect with you. And it's a value add. It's building your inner circle on top of LinkedIn. So now you can actually do referrals automated. And that's helped me a lot because I do a lot of referrals.
Me too.
So yeah, reach out to me and I'll tell you more about MMT. It's a great product.
So reach out to Steve. I want you to do two things. Reach out to Steve, connect with him on LinkedIn. Also, in my LinkedIn or on Facebook, wherever you're watching this, comment, tell us what you got out of this event, because we're going to be doing a few more of these live stream events. Let us know what you got out of it so we can connect with each other, build that network so we can help you start making money with your podcast. We got a lot more coming. We have another one coming up Tuesday with Junaid Ahmed, who's going to talk to you guys about how to build your own in-home studio. We have one coming up next Saturday where we have Taria Hodge talking to you about how you can leverage social media to start making more money. So just make sure you're staying tuned to all the things we have going on. Steve, I want to thank you so much. From my servant's heart to yours, brother, I thank you so much for joining me today on Media Boss Live, my buddy.
God bless you, my friend.
God bless you too. And God bless you, everybody. Thank you. We'll see you next time on Media Boss Live.